It's the amazing Rico Brogna podcast with your host, Evan Roberts.
Rico Brogna! Welcome to a drive home edition of Rico Brogna, a very happy drive home edition of Rico Brogna, as the New York Mets return home after a road trip that was blah, I guess would be the way to define it. And the offense doesn't exactly break out. They have one good inning, but they do get a victory as the Mets beat the St. Louis Cardinals by a score of 4-1. This drive home edition of Rico Brogna is a happy one. It was a fun night out at Citi Field. I was notified that we were shown on SNY, but yes, it was me, it was Hoff, it was Tiki, it was Tommy Lugauer, and we all got to witness a nice, neat, and tidy Met victory. Let me address Juan Soto to start. Obviously, we all know Juan has struggled. We know that we have not seen the best of Juan Soto. Juan Soto knows the best. We haven't seen the best of Juan Soto. We don't see Soto shuffles. We haven't seen it click yet for him. I got a lot of text messages, and I'm sure a lot of you guys in the audience have already formulated your opinions, that Juan Soto received his very first Citi Field boos in this game tonight, specifically when he struck out with, I think it was with guys on base. I don't have my scorebook in front of me, and my memory is a little foggy. I got to tell you, and I don't think I have bias ears. I think I have honest ears. If I hear something, I will report it. I really didn't hear boos for Juan Soto at Citi Field. Now, you may hear people claim that they did. That is totally fine because I was actually leaving the ballpark and there was a fan. He was very nice. He was a Rico listener. And I actually asked him, I said, hey, I've been getting texts that they heard Soto boos on TV. I'm in the building. I really didn't hear it. Did you hear it? And he said, yeah, a little bit. So maybe I'm freaking nuts. Maybe the boos weren't coming from my section. I don't know. But what I heard is groans. And that is a sound that we've heard a lot in New York sports over the years. The Garden groan is very famous when the Knicks are struggling or the Ranger power play sucks. The Jet groan really happens all the time, basically when there's a 3 and out. So I think I heard maybe groans from the Citi Field faithful, but I don't know if I actually heard boos. And I guess that tells you that we're in phase 1 of Met fans being frustrated with Juan Soto, or it's just light boos. It's boos that we debate if they even exist. But he is struggling. He did draw a walk in his final at-bat on 4 pitches, and Pete Alonso almost made them pay by driving one to the warning track in left field. But here's the positive about Soto's struggles. They're winning. Now, they didn't win the last 2 games, and I think that's why the frustration for some Met fans hit a boiling point. And certainly we talked about it on the last Rico. He went 0 for 5 with 3 strikeouts, and they lost the game 4-3, and they lost the game with Soto being in the middle of the struggles. But on a night like tonight, it's easier to not be annoyed because, A, Francisco Lindor had 3 base hits, including not just an RBI hit, but getting into the rundown, which is interesting because Soto would have come up with guys on base. We'll see what happens. But get into the rundown and then basically signal to Tyrone Taylor, hey, bro, I'm going to run down, go score. So the positive of Lindor, the positive of Mark Vientos going opposite field and hooking that ball right in front of the right field foul pole for a home run. Brett Beatty getting multiple hits. So you saw 3 guys who have struggled offensively for the most part break out tonight. And then really the main reason they won this game and the main reason why they sit here now at 12-7 is the pitching. Griffin Canning was outstanding. He had the control issues early, walked a few batters in the first inning, let that pitch count get drived up, and then did a good job fighting through that trouble. And really, outside of the 1 run he gave up, which came on an infield hit right after he threw that wild pitch, which created the run, Griffin Canning was excellent. So the Mets are winning, and this has been the trend throughout this season. A 12-7 record is certainly a good record, a game up in first place. They're doing it because they're pitching out of their minds. But it makes, when Soto struggles, and he continues to struggle, a little bit easier to deal with when you're winning. I'm in my car leaving Citi Field. I'm in a good mood. The Mets won. If the Mets lose this game, we are talking more about 0 for 3 with a walk, Juan Soto. Is he pressing? Is the money getting to him? All that kind of stuff. And they're going to need Juan Soto. I am confident that he will break out. I think he's too great of a hitter. And this is also very typical of guys that come to New York. We've seen it with almost everybody. For whatever reason, they struggle. Soto with the Yankees was the rare exception to this. Like Giambi, Teixeira, Clemens on the Yankee side. On the Mets side, we certainly know the guys. Carlos Beltran is certainly one that jumps out at you. Francisco Lindor being a recent example. But the Soto struggles, which are real, they are A, not concerning, and B, much easier to deal with when you're 12-7. I remember saying that a lot last year. I know the Mets ended up struggling after they played better. Remember, they started off 0-5, and then they started to play well for a few weeks. Let's not forget that. And Lindor wasn't hitting. And my point then was, hey, I love it. Like, win games while Lindor's not hitting, because I know as well as you do that Lindor's going to hit. So they're going to need him. And I think that's the same thing with Juan Soto. Let me get back to Griffin Canning because he deserves more love. An outstanding performance. And I think that Mendy also handled this perfectly. I apologize. I don't have headphones, so Hoff is in the car with me, but I can't hear him if he speaks. But I do want you to pop up, Pete, even if I can't hear you. Just signal to me when you're done. But I was grading Hoff throughout Canning's sixth inning. Because remember, Hoff was very upset with the way Mendy handled Canning's last performance against the A's last Friday night, that he should have been pulled after 5. So Mendy allows him to come out for the sixth inning, and I'm like, all right, Hoff, should he stay in? So I can't hear you, but floor is yours on what you were thinking throughout that sixth inning when Mendy kept him in.
I was dying inside when he first came out because I was like, well, this is just not going to go well. I said he needs to go batter to batter. The first guy he got out, I said, okay, fine, let's pull him. Then the next guy comes up. He gets out of that. I say pull him, and then he gets the final guy. I'm like, all right, that's it. It's done. I'm surprised we went that deep with him, but I was happy he got through it. But I was ready to go batter to batter, and I would have been done with him even though he got the first batter out. I was done after that.
I realize that it's such a horrible idea to have you talk with me waiting for you to stop talking by watching, because then I had to take my eyes off the road briefly. I'm right now getting on the Whitestone Bridge on my... Do I take the the Whitestone Bridge on my trek home to Westchester. But whatever Pete said, sure, I agree. Actually, I may be about to repeat him. I love that Mendy had Garrett warming up. And I thought, now, I can't be proven right unless Mendy admits this after the game, but at least my thought was, and I was saying this to Pete, go batter to batter. I was saying this to Tiki, actually, because Tiki was sitting next to me, so I guess I was screaming at the Hoff, which is, if a guy gets on base, you pull him, but give him that chance to sneak through third time around the order, give him a chance to get through the sixth inning, make it a quality start, but also only ask 9 outs out of your bullpen. You are coming off a game in which you had a bullpen day. And I don't know if Mendy would have pulled him if a guy got on base, but luckily we didn't find out because Garrett did a great job navigating his way through a 1-2-3 sixth inning. He ended up retiring the last 8 batters he faced. So this really turned into a quality performance by Griffin Canning. He got the extra day of rest because he wasn't feeling well. That's why they had the bullpen day on Wednesday. But outstanding performance by Griff. And then we saw Mendy. I've been keeping track of how often and really how rare it's been where Mendy's asked relievers to go on back-to-back days. It's not a surprise because of what happened yesterday, but he was forced to have to use a bunch of guys on a back-to-back. We saw Reed Garrett. He barely threw any pitches, obviously, in the extra inning loss, but he comes out, battled some control issues, but was able to get through the inning without giving up a run. A.J. Minter did an outstanding job, including protecting his balls on that comebacker. And then, look, Edwin Diaz, we almost have to get used to the Edwin Diaz experience, which I didn't think was terrible today because the tying run never got to the plate. But it's typical Edwin Diaz. Let's not throw strikes to the leadoff hitter. Let's eventually walk the leadoff hitter. And then let's slowly find our control and get through the inning, which is exactly what Edwin Diaz did. My view on Diaz, my view on every closer is just get the job done. He did get the job done, but it is not fun. That Edwin Diaz... I was just notified I'm going over the speed limit. Thank you very much for the update via my car. I don't know why it does that, because my car will yell at me, you're over the speed limit, but I'm over the speed limit a lot, and it doesn't seem to update me often. It's almost like a once-in-a-while thing, and there's a police officer like 100 yards ahead of me. I wonder if they track that there's a police officer close by. I don't know, but it's just an observation I had about my car. I drive a Jeep, by the way, for those that care. But Diaz got the job done. Even if he gave us some anxiety in terms of putting the leadoff man on. But the pitching continues to be the forte. I don't think they'll keep this up, but here's the good news.
The speed limit is 40 miles per hour.
I've been told again the speed limit is 40 miles per hour. I am sorry. I'm now going to go very slowly. I forgot what I was saying. Oh, yeah. I don't think the pitching will keep up at this pace, but I also don't think the offense is going to keep up at this pace. And we are starting to see signs from some guys offensively. We've seen the signs from Vientos, I think, for the last week on this road trip. There were certainly positives, and he came through by hitting his first home run of the season, which gave the Mets the early lead. We're obviously seeing positives with Brett Baty. Brett Baty had 2 more hits in this game, including a triple. He had the RBI single on the bloop. Right now, what I think is happening, and I hope Mendy does something about this, is Brett Baty and Luis Angel Acuna are both producing. They are both. Baty's starting to hit. It's now 3 games in a row. Remember, he ended that game on Sunday against the A's with a base hit. And I said, hopefully he can build off of it. Well, he sat for 2 days. He had 2 hits in the Wednesday game. He gets 2 more hits in this game, the Thursday game. So Brett Baty's 5 for his last 9 or whatever the heck it is. So he's showing you a pulse. What I think Mendy's got to do is let's see Acuna in center temporarily. Let's see him in a game out there. Look, he played 25 of them or whatever it was in AAA, but it allows you, for now, to get both of these guys in the lineup. And when McNeil comes back, it allows you to keep Acuna in the lineup and possibly Baty if you're comfortable with McNeil shifting over to left field or center field. So I'm not giving up on Tyrone Taylor. I think Tyrone Taylor will also start to produce. He is what he is. I said this a lot about Bader last year. I think it's pretty true with Tyrone. He's ideally a 4th outfielder, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think he's a good 4th outfielder. So as he is now being forced to play more with Jose Siri being out, I don't think he should play 7 out of 7 days. And I think it does create opportunities for Acuna, for even Baty if you're willing to move McNeil to the outfield. But right now, after slow starts from both, you're starting to get to see some production out of both Brett Baty and Luis Angel Acuna. I am intrigued to see what the hell Gary Cohen said about us on the broadcast. I was scoring. I got still shots sent to us that there was a good picture of me scoring, which is true. That's what I freaking do. And I got to hand it to Tiki Barber. I have mocked Tiki since the moment I began working with him and started taking him to games that he leaves early. He left the Knicks-Nets game, tie game, like early 4th quarter. He's left baseball games. Tiki Barber made it through a full 9. Now, he didn't show up till the 3rd inning, but listen, it happens. He claims he got into the building in the 2nd inning, but he stopped for a drink and some food, which is fine. But he stayed till the very end. And that's a good job out of him. Very good job out of him. And a great job by the crowd, because I haven't seen what they officially announced, but the place was absolutely packed for a Thursday night. And I think this is a Thursday night that's more like a Friday night because of the holiday coming up this weekend. Happy Easter to all. Happy Passover to all. But that was an awesome crowd. And clearly the Met fan has responded to not just what Steve Cohen said. I think it started before that, but responded to, A, the success of 2024 and also the excitement of the offseason with the Juan Soto signing, because that was a huge Thursday night crowd. The crowd was into it. I didn't exactly love the wave, but whatever. Beggars can't be choosers. And it was a fun night at Citi Field as the Mets snapped the 2-game losing streak. David Peterson on Friday, Kodai Senga on Saturday, and we'll see if they can keep this going against St. Louis. I would love 5 out of 7 on this homestand. I think 4 out of 3 is, I would grade it as acceptable but not great. But I think the goal is, especially after a 500 road trip, do some damage. And so far, so good. Mets are 1 for 1 on this road trip. I'm going to end it here because I do want to focus on the rest of my trip driving home and be safe. But I do appreciate you listening and downloading, checking us out live on YouTube or via the podcast where you download. Oh, one quick thing. And for that guy who's listening, I say thank you. For the first time in my life, I signed a man's body. A man was wearing a Rico Brogna t-shirt, which you can still purchase, by the way. I think Koff has the link up wherever you download our podcast. You could buy them. We have them in blue and we have them in orange. And the guy comes over to me and says, will you sign my shirt, the one he was wearing? So yes, I signed a man's chest. I'm deeply honored. It was good luck because it turned into a Met victory, but it was a fun night out at Citi Field. Thank you very much for listening, downloading, and subscribing to a very happy winning drive home edition of Rico Brogna.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Rico Brogna podcast. It's amazing, isn't it? Make sure you download it now to keep it on you at all times.